Let's talk about interval notation. So when we think about interval notation, it's really just another way to write a solution. And so we see that we could solve some sort of equation or inequality and get something that looks like x greater than or equal to 4. Well, I want another way to be able to write that because it's a lot of numbers, and so we say, like, we're going to start at 4, go all the way to infinity. If you think about it on a number line, it looks like 4, and I want all the numbers from 4 to infinity, including 4 because I have that equals 2 sign. And so to write that in interval notation, I write bracket 4, comma, infinity, parentheses. So here's some sort of symbols that we use for interval notation. Notice that the brackets, the hard square ones, are including the point, and so we put they have an equals to underneath there. And then parentheses are sort of greater than or less than without the equal to underneath it, and they don't include the point. So when you're thinking about it on the number line, if you have open circles, you don't include the point. You use it's sort of less than and greater than. Or when you have filled in circles, it's less than or equal to. One thing to always note is that infinity and negative infinity, since they're not actual numbers, they always get parentheses. So let's do some examples. So here they have given you different pieces. Some of them they give you the interval notation, some they give you the inequality notation, some they give you the number line, and they want you to sort of fill in the rest of the table. So if I look at the first example, it says bracket -5, comma 8 parentheses. So what I know on my number line is I'm starting at -5 and I'm going to 8. A bracket means I'm including the -5, so I would pull the filled in circle at -5. And a parentheses means I'm not including it, so I would put a open circle at 8. And so in inequality notation, it starts at -5. I put an x in the middle. I end at 8. I included the -5, so I put the less than or equal to there. I did not include the 8, so I put strictly less than. So I think it's easiest if you have the number line notation. So try to fill those in first and then continue from there. So the second example has inequality notation. It says -7 is less than x is less than or equal to 2. So I want all the numbers between -7 and 2. There's no equals at the -7, so that's going to get an open circle. The 2 has an equals, so it gets a closed circle. So in interval notation, I would start at -7, end at 2. Again, there was no equals at -7, so it gets a parentheses. At 2, there was an equals, so it gets a bracket. Okay, so in the next one, they give us the number line. It starts at -1, and it goes to infinity. Remember, infinity always has to get parentheses no matter what. Because this starts at -1 and it has a filled in circle, -1 gets a bracket. If I want to write that in inequality notation, I could say all the numbers bigger than or equal to -1, or -1 is less than or equal to x. So you could actually write this in either direction that you want, okay? Both of those answers are acceptable. Okay, -infinity to 4. So all the numbers from -infinity all the way up to 4. 4 has a parentheses, so it gets an open circle. So this is all the numbers x that are less than 4. I don't put an equals there because I have that open circle, and I want numbers that are smaller than 4. Okay, x less than or equal to 5, so all the numbers that are smaller than 5. I'm going to put a filled in circle there because it has a equal to at the 5. So this starts over here on the left at -infinity. It ends at 5. -infinity and positive infinity always get parentheses. Because I have the equals and the filled in circle, this guy gets a bracket. Okay, last example is all the numbers between -4 and 5. So -4, x, 5. An open circle at -4, so less than. Closed circle at 5, less than or equal to. So -4 to 5, that's my starting and my ending. Open circle at -4 gets a parentheses. Closed circle at 5 gets a bracket. If your solutions contain more than one interval, you use the symbol U. So for instance, this one says, write and draw the interval expressing all real numbers less than or equal to -1 or greater than or equal to +1. So here's -1, here's +1. I want all the numbers less than or equal to -1, so these guys, equal, so I can put that filled in circle there, and greater than or equal to 1. So notice that I have two intervals here. I have -infinity to -1, or, so I'm going to put this U symbol in between them, 1 to +infinity. Remember, infinities always get parentheses, and then because it says or equal to, these guys are going to get brackets, filled in circles.